Hey, what's going on? My name's Coach Lee Hopkins. My pronouns are he, him, his, and you're listening to the Patterns of Possibility podcast. This is a podcast dedicated to helping you replace harmful patterns with new possibilities. In each episode, we'll explore topics that inspire you to be yourself, live your truth, and make lasting friendships. This episode is all about taking a gamer's perspective, looking at the world in a different way, like a role player. Are you ready? Let's go. As a teen, I was an avid gamer. My favorite kinds of games were the role players, though. That's where you assume the identity of some made-up character in a faraway land. I love playing role player games instead of the fighting games or sports games because the role player games allowed me to pretend to be someone else. A character with a backstory that I could assume as my own. And I was good at those games too. Most of the games I got my hands on, I invested enough time and energy to beat all of the optional side quests as well as the main story. I mean, what else would you do if you don't have any friends? Now that I'm an adult and I have responsibilities and stuff, I don't get the opportunity to play the games like I used to. And I don't have the energy to play the games. The choices that I face nowadays seem so much more complex than what I faced in playing those games. But when I look back at the games, when I look back at the experiences of playing the game, I recognize that characters in the game were often presented with choices, right? And the whole point of the game was to to win, there was a singular goal. There was a singular point to the game in which every character is working towards that, maybe beating the worst bad guy that there is out there. But we know exactly what we're doing. We have our purpose, right? And every choice that you make is supposed to get you closer to the purpose of beating the game. So with that singular purpose in mind, with the goal in mind, every choice you make, you'd want to use to advance yourself in the game. You know, I think that my life would be much better and much simpler if I had treated my life as a game. If I observed from a gamer's perspective. Now here's why. I would transfer all of the discipline and enthusiasm that I had from watching behind the screen to actual results in my real life. Observing would allow me to take a step back from the emotional attachment that I might have to a situation. And instead of overthinking about how some option might turn out for me or the emotional attachment that I may have to it, I would just push up, push X, push A, push B, whatever kind of input that I needed to make the character move in the direction that I needed them to go so that I can ultimately complete the game. So I can ultimately reach the purpose of me playing the game in the first place. If I applied that to my real life, and I believe that my purpose is to connect with other people, to make friends, that's my goal, I would make sure to go for the actions, to take steps in the directions that would allow me to make the kind of friendships I want, even though it might feel hurtful. But if I'm just pushing the button, if I'm just acting upon what I know it's best for me, I will ultimately reach that goal. And the discomfort that I have will be replaced with the joy that I feel when I make the kind of friendships and the kind of connections I want. One potential problem that we face with this, let's say the friendship game is now the game we're going to play. And the goal of the game is to make friends, to make connections that you want. Well, questions arise like, how do we find that direction for ourselves? That was a question I had to ask myself. How do I find the direction that will lead me to the kind of people I want? Because in the game, you're spoon-fed the information. You're told exactly what the super boss looks like, what the goal of the game is. And each step along the way, You are nudged in the direction to get towards the end of the goal. You don't wander around aimlessly for years upon years trying to figure out what it is that you need to do. In the game, it's already built in. But for life, that's a bit different. That's why we need that focus of the goal. That gamer's perspective in which you know where you're going, what you're looking for, and everything you do aligns to making sure that you complete your goal. If that goal is to make genuine, lasting friendships, then you have the responsibility of knowing what that genuine, lasting friendship looks like for you. If you're having difficulty making friendships, it might be because you don't recognize what a good friendship or what a friendship that suits you looks like. First, define what that is, and then get started on your journey. I'll be right back with the Answer Reddit friendship advice question. This friendship advice question is called From a Distance. I had a feeling building a friendship with this person wasn't the smartest thing. I met this person in college, but we didn't get closer until later on when we reconnected at a mutual friend's party. As I got closer to her, I realized she was cheating on her husband. She would confess very personal things about her marriage to me, and as a friend, I tried to guide her and do the moral, ethical right thing, but she still had several men. I got to the point where I had to tell her I felt uncomfortable with her sharing this information because as a person, I felt obligated to tell her husband. I decided to stay out of it because even though she's a horrible wife, she's a good friend. Until she opened up to me about feeling like I don't make time for her like I do for my other friends. She subtweeted me, and that upset me because as a friend, she should have come to me, not take it to social media. My question, should I continue being her friend or should I distance myself? I chose this question because I think it really correlates with you being able to make the decision that you need to develop the kind of friendships that you want. This person, I think, has a pretty great sense of self and what's right to them and what they feel good about doing because they explain themselves or they share their truth to their quote friend. Even if they don't like it, they share. Even if it might be awkward, they still share. So the fact that this friend was cheating on her husband upset the poster. And the poster meant it. They said it. They told them. Now I'm curious about why she's a good friend. What are some specific attributes to her that makes her a good friend? Of course, this post is really short and it's really concise, and I'm grateful for that. But it doesn't give any detail about how she is a good friend because all I see is that she has rattled you emotionally, and at first you thought it wouldn't be the greatest idea to make a friendship with her. So I wonder, what is it that she does that designates her as a good friend? If you figure out what those are, check those qualities. Check and see. And specific behaviors and actions, I mean, like, if you put her in a situation in which you needed help from her, how would she behave? Is that a good friend to you? What she does, is that a good friend to you? Because I think her putting you in a situation in which she's confessing to you some things that bother you is not really friendly. It's not really good friend, close friend material. If it upsets you and they keep dropping it on you and complaining to you, and it seems like now they're attacking you to get your attention, posting it on social media, doing things that, work your nerve a little bit, doesn't seem like they'd be a good friend. So that's just me looking on the outside in, though. I don't know exactly what experiences that you've had with her that make her a good friend. So I would look into those. What are they? And then line them up with the ones that you don't like. Do a pros and cons kind of thing. Is your life more peaceful with her in it, or is it more peaceful without it? You finding more joy because she's not around, or are you being more annoyed because she is around? Those are some questions that you might consider. So I thank you for asking your question, Redditor. I know you didn't ask me to answer it, but I did. And I hope that this helps you. Best of luck. Take care. My name is Coach Lee Hopkins, and you have been listening to the Patterns of Possibility podcast. You can find me at patternsofpossibility.com and on all social media at Patterns of Possibility. And as always, I want to encourage you to be yourself, live your truth, and there you'll make lasting friendships.